Imagine living in the grim reality of 1930s Cleveland, reeling from the Great Depression, only to wake up to headlines screaming, "Headless body found in Kingsbury Run." Not once, not twice, but over a dozen times.
This wasn't some sensationalized piece of pulp fiction. This is chillingly real, a shadow descending over an already struggling city. And what makes it even more terrifying, the monster behind these heinous acts was never officially caught. Welcome to the perplexing, brutal, and still unsolved mystery of the Cleveland Torso murders.
Our mission here is always to sift through the information, find those key nuggets of knowledge from our sources, and really help you get a solid understanding of the topic.
And today, we're taking on a truly disturbing case, one of America's most terrifying, most enduring cold cases, the Cleveland Torso murders, sometimes known as the Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
We're going back to the 1930s, Cleveland, a city already on its knees because of the Great Depression, and then this wave of just unspeakable terror hits.
Yeah, it's a story that completely stumped, some of the most famous law enforcement figures of the time. The forensic details are chilling, even now, and it still haunts people, nearly a century later.
Absolutely. And we need to stress, given the subject matter, we're approaching this with a serious journalistic tone, respectful. We're focusing strictly on the facts, on what the sources tell us about this incredibly grave situation.
Definitely. So to really get a handle on this horror, you first need to picture the scene. Kingsbury Run, mid-1930s. It wasn't a nice place.
Not at all. Describe it for us. What was it actually like?
Think of this sprawling kind of industrial wasteland. A big ravine, really.
Yeah.
Railroad tracks everywhere, crisscrossing it.
And filled with garbage, right? Like a dumping ground?
Exactly. Industrial waste, just general refuse. And scattered all through it were these makeshift shantytowns. Hobo jungles, they called them back then. Very bleak.
And this environment, this Kingsbury Run, it wasn't just a backdrop, was it? It was crucial to the crimes themselves.
Oh, completely. It was a place where, frankly, life was cheap. You could be anonymous there, and tragically, a body could just disappear easily.
Vanish without a trace.
Yeah. So it's in this forgotten, desolate place, deep in economic despair, that this reign of terror really took hold.
It started kind of quietly, though, didn't it? Almost like a test run.
Well, possibly. The first victim that might be connected, though authorities didn't officially link her later, was found September 5th, 1934. They called her the Lady of the Lake.
Found in Lake Erie off Euclid Beach.
That's right. A headless female torso. Legs cut off at the knees. Horrific, but maybe seen as, a one-off incident at the time.
But many now believe she was the first, the killer's sort of opening act.
It seems likely. The method, the dismemberment, the disposal, it matches what came later. It's like a chilling prelude.
And then a year later, to the day.
Exactly 1 year later, September 23rd, 1935. That's when the terror officially began in Kingsbury Run itself. The body of Edward W. Andrassy, 29 years old, was found.
In the condition.
Nude, emasculated. Clear rope burns on his wrist, so he'd been tied up. And like the Lady of the Lake, his head was gone.
Just awful. And wasn't there another body found almost immediately?
Right nearby, just meters away, they found a second victim. Another man, unidentified, also decapitated, also mutilated in similar ways.
So the scene is just carnage, absolute carnage. But there was something else, something deeply unsettling about it.
Yes, that's the paradox. It was brutal, yes, but not sloppy. There was this weird level of control. The cuts were incredibly clean, almost anatomical.
Surgical even.
Precisely, suggesting real skill, a chilling kind of expertise. Maybe a doctor, maybe a butcher, maybe something else entirely.
And the media picks up on this.
Oh, quickly. The fear starts spreading. The papers, reflecting that panic, they dub him the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, and that name stuck. Cleveland was starting to get really scared.
But the butcher, as they called him, he wasn't done, not by a long shot. Things got worse, didn't they?
Much worse. Early 1936, the nightmare really intensified. January 26th, the body of Florence Genevieve Polillo was discovered.
Who was she?
42 years old. A waitress, apparently had some ties to the city's underworld. Her dismembered parts were found in baskets and boxes just left in a downtown alley, meticulously cut up.
And they found her head. That was key, wasn't it?
It was crucial. Her head was found nearby, which allowed for positive identification. And identifying Florence Polillo, well, that sent a massive shockwave through the city.
Why specifically her?
Because she wasn't, some anonymous transient from the run. She was known. She had a life, connections in the city proper. Suddenly, this wasn't just happening to the marginalized. The horror felt like it was stepping out of the shadows, reaching into respectable neighborhoods.
So the fear turned into real hysteria.
Widespread hysteria, yeah. People felt vulnerable in a way they hadn't before.
And the killings just kept coming.
Yeah.
More brazenly, too.
Absolutely. June 5th, 1936, another victim, an unidentified male, later called the Tattooed Man because of, well, his distinctive tattoos.
And his remains. Scattered.
All over the place. Torso here, limbs there. His head was found about 1,500 feet away. Like the killer was leaving this grotesque trail, almost a signature.
And there was something particularly horrifying confirmed about him, wasn't there? By the coroner?
Yes. A truly chilling detail emerged. While some victims were apparently decapitated after death, the coroner determined that others, including the Tattooed Man, he was likely decapitated while still alive.
That level of calculated cruelty is hard to comprehend.
He really is. It speaks volumes about the killer's mindset.
So by this point, Cleveland must have been just paralyzed with fear.
Utter terror. You read the accounts, locked doors, frantic whispers spreading everywhere. The police were just swamped, totally overwhelmed. They were struggling to even understand this kind of meticulous, brutal killer.
He seemed to be escalating, too. More frequent, more brutal.
More brazen, definitely. Scattering the remains like that felt like a direct taunt to the authorities, like he was daring them to catch him.
So amidst all this chaos and fear, who was actually trying to make sense of the physical evidence? The forensics.
That really fell to one man initially, the coroner, Dr. Samuel Gerber. He became the face of the scientific investigation, a meticulous, pioneering pathologist for his time.
His work was pretty groundbreaking, wasn't it, for the era?
Absolutely foundational. I mean, the horrific case kind of forced the development of forensic pathology techniques. It was a brutal, real-world laboratory in a way.
And what did Dr. Gerber find through his examinations?
Several really critical things. He determined multiple victims had been drained of blood, probably while they were sedated.
Drained of blood, why?
Unclear. Easier dismemberment. Part of the ritual, we don't know. He also found evidence of chemical burns on some bodies, maybe trying to remove fingerprints, obscure identity.
And some bodies were preserved.
Yes, with some kind of unknown substances. And one victim, known as Jane Doe II, actually had traces of morphine in her system.
Morphine. Okay, that raises a lot of questions.
Huge questions. Was the killer experimenting? Was he trying to keep them alive? Perhaps sedated? During the dismemberment? Using drugs to capture them, incapacitate them. It suggested this chillingly clinical, almost research-like approach.
And the cuts themselves told a story too, right? The precision.
Oh, absolutely. Gerber noted the surgical level precision in many cases. Muscles cleanly severed, vertebrae exposed with unnerving accuracy. One body was cut into, like, over a dozen perfectly measured pieces.
Not random hacking, this was deliberate. Expertly done.
Exactly. Controlled, deliberate, this wasn't some frenzy. It strongly suggested the killer knew human anatomy intimately, professionally even.
So theories started flying: surgeon, mortician.
Right. Surgeon, mortician, maybe a trained butcher, or someone with a grim wartime medical experience, perhaps. Clearly not an amateur.
But despite Gerber's work, finding traditional clues was hard.
Agonizingly hard. Fingerprints, things like that. Very scarce. Partly the killer's meticulousness, partly just the contaminated environment of Kingsbury Run itself.
So mid-1936 rolls around. The public is terrified, outraged, demanding action.
The pressure was immense. And that's when a big name steps in. Eliot Ness.
The Eliot Ness.
Yeah.
Famous for taking down Al Capone in Chicago.
The very same. He was Cleveland's public safety director by then. He took charge of the investigation. You'd think, okay, Ness is here, this will get solved.
But it wasn't that simple.
Not at all. Ness came in hard. He launched these controversial sweeping raids in the shantytowns in Kingsbury Run, questioning everyone.
And didn't he do something really drastic, something with fire?
He did. In a move that was, and still is, highly controversial, Ness ordered the entire Kingsbury Run encampment burned to the ground. Just torched it.
What was the thinking there?
The idea was to smoke out the killer. Literally. Destroy any hiding places, maybe destroy evidence he might have stashed. Just burn away the shadows he operated in.
A dramatic gesture. Did it work?
No. Despite this massive dramatic action, despite Ness's reputation and resources, the killer just vanished, remained elusive.
Must have been incredibly frustrating for Ness. Baffling.
Utterly baffling. It really showed the limits of even legendary policing against this kind of sophisticated, phantom-like killer. The man who tamed Chicago couldn't catch the Cleveland butcher.
But Ness did have a suspect, didn't he? Someone he strongly believed was the killer.
He did. Behind the scenes, Ness developed a profound suspicion about one man, Dr. Francis E. Sweeney.
Dr. Sweeney? Who was he?
He was a former Army medic,
Oh.
but he had significant issues. Severe psychological problems, reportedly schizophrenia, and a serious battle with alcoholism.
And he had connections, right? Political ones.
That's a crucial piece. Yes, he was related to a prominent political family in Cleveland. His cousin was a powerful congressman who also happened to be a political rival of Ness. Adds a layer of complexity, doesn't it?
Definitely. So Ness questioned him.
Unofficially, multiple times. Sweeney reportedly failed several polygraph tests. Now, we have to be careful here. Polygraphs back then were notoriously unreliable.
Right, not like today. Still early days for that tech.
Exactly. But Ness seemed to take those failures very seriously, maybe combined with Sweeney's background and instability.
Yeah.
Ness was apparently convinced Sweeney was his man.
But he was never charged. Why not?
Ultimately, there was no direct, hard evidence. Circumstantial links, Ness's gut feeling, the failed polygraphs, but nothing solid enough to bring formal charges, especially perhaps with those political connections looming.
So what happened to Sweeney?
Instead of being arrested, he was quietly committed to a psychiatric hospital in 1939. And he stayed there, institutionalized, until he died in 1964.
And Ness always believed it was him.
Off the record, yes. He maintained Sweeney was the butcher. And the story gets even weirder years later. Even after Sweeney was locked up, Ness supposedly started receiving these cryptic, taunting postcards. They were signed with details only the killer or someone very close to the investigation would know. Many people, including Ness, firmly believe they came from Sweeney himself, mocking Ness from inside the hospital walls. Chilling.
It's just incredible. So, fast forward to today. Almost a century later. Where does the case stand?
Technically, it's still unsolved. The Cleveland torso murders remain an open cold case.
Have modern techniques helped at all? DNA, forensic genealogy?
They've tried. Parts of the case have been reopened. Those modern tools have been applied. But the challenges are huge.
Time, mostly.
Time is the biggest enemy. The sheer passage of decades, advanced decay of the remains they do have, and frankly, evidence storage back in the 1930s wasn't what it is today. Things get lost, degraded.
So it's an uphill battle.
A very steep one. It's a stark reminder of how much forensic science has evolved and the limitations they faced back then. But, hope remains. Maybe some future scientific advance will finally crack it.
Looking back at the crimes themselves, methodical, clinical, perverse, you used the phrase artist of death earlier.
It feels appropriate in a grim way. The calculated precision, the dismemberment, the way the bodies were treated, it forced investigators to confront a kind of killer they really hadn't seen before, not on this scale, with this level of bizarre control.
And that's the legacy, isn't it? The long shadow it casts.
Exactly. The mystery of the Butcher of Kingsbury Run still terrifies. It hangs over Cleveland, over crime history. A really grim reminder that sometimes the monsters aren't caught. They aren't brought into the light.
We may never definitively know the name behind the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, but we do know that this terrifying spree fundamentally changed the face of crime scene investigation and the public's understanding of terror in America.
If this story chilled you to the bone, we invite you to continue exploring its mysteries. And if you've got theories on who the butcher really was, we want to hear them.
Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious.